All right, so ready to dive into a world you probably haven't thought much about.
I'm in.
It's one we experience every day, though, whether it's that morning coffee or a bowl of cereal. The world of milk.
Ah, milk. Doesn't seem that complicated.
That's what I thought. But it turns out there's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that milk is safe and delicious.
Okay, you've got my attention.
We're talking about milk heat treatment and the masterminds behind it all. Milk heat treatment process operators. And we're joined by an expert to break down some insights from RoleCatcher.com on these folks.
These are the unsung heroes of the dairy aisle, really, making sure every sip is safe and tasty.
So I have to admit, when I picture this job, I kind of imagine like someone in a hairnet with a giant thermometer leaning over a giant vat of milk.
Classic image.
Is that remotely accurate?
Well, there's definitely some monitoring going on, but it's a lot more high-tech than you might think. These operators are working with some seriously impressive machinery. Raw product booster pumps, homogenizers, you name it.
Okay, hold on. Raw product booster pumps, homogenizers. You're using all the big words now.
Sorry, got a little carried away.
No worries. Break it down for us. What actually happens during this whole heat treatment process?
So basically, it's all about precision. We're talking carefully controlled heating and cooling cycles to eliminate any harmful bacteria. I'm sure you've heard of pasteurization.
Yeah, pasteurization. Isn't that what makes milk safe to drink?
Exactly. Think of it like a quick cleanup that takes care of most of the bacteria that could make us sick. But if you want that milk that lasts for weeks on the shelf, well, that requires a whole other level, sterilization.
Ah, so that's where those cartons with UHT come in.
You got it. UHT stands for ultra-high temperature processing, which basically eliminates almost all microorganisms so the milk can last much longer without needing to be refrigerated.
So when I see UHT, it's like that milk is living in a fortress, totally bacteria-proof.
Precisely. But it's not just about making it last longer. It's about making sure every drop is safe to drink. These milk heat treatment process operators, they're practically food safety superheroes in a way.
Superheroes working with giant milk-zapping machines. That's a pretty cool image. But let's be real, no job is without its downsides.
Yeah.
What are some of the not-so-glamorous aspects of this line of work?
Well, picture this. You're in a processing plant. It's a bustling environment. There's heat, noise, and you might be exposed to some chemicals. These operators, they're often on their feet for long hours, constantly monitoring these complex systems and making sure everything's running smoothly.
I can see how that wouldn't be for everyone. And, the sources we have mentioned operations monitoring as a key skill. What exactly does that involve?
Imagine being surrounded by gauges, dials, control panels. You're constantly checking temperatures, pressures, flow rates, making sure everything's within the right parameters.
So you need a good eye for detail for that.
Definitely. And you need to be able to troubleshoot any issues that come up, always keeping safety top of mind.
Sounds pretty demanding.
It is.
It makes you realize it takes a certain kind of person to really thrive in that kind of environment. What would you say are some of those other essential qualities of a successful milk heat treatment process operator?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about knowing how to operate the machinery. You've got to be a problem solver, a communicator, detail-oriented when it comes to keeping those records accurate.
It's like a balance of brains and brawn. You're telling me these are the same people who make sure my milk is safe and could probably take apart a homogenizer with their eyes closed and put it back together?
Maybe not with their eyes closed, but yeah.
Yeah.
It takes that hands-on mechanical know-how, but also that ability to think on your feet, adapt to different situations.
That's really cool. Okay, so say someone's listening to this and they're like, sign me up, where do I apply? What does the path to becoming a milk heat treatment process operator even look like?
Well, according to these RoleCatcher guides, you often just need a high school diploma to get started.
Okay, so that's attainable for a lot of folks.
It is, but if you want to move up in the field, you'll want to look into some more specialized training.
Like what?
Certifications in food processing or dairy technology, that sort of thing.
Ah, so like any specialized field.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have that foundation. Now, the guide also mentioned internships and apprenticeships. It seems like that could be pretty invaluable in a job like this.
Oh, for sure. I mean, imagine learning the ropes from these seasoned pros, getting some real hands-on experience with those massive machines, really understanding the ins and outs of the heat treatment process.
Like a milk superhero boot camp.
Speaking of career development, though, I have to say, I was pretty blown away by all the resources this RoleCatcher site has. AI-powered interview practice. That sounds like something straight out of the future.
I know, right? But it's a game changer, especially in today's job market.
I bet.
Just think, you can have your resume analyzed, scored against job descriptions you're going for, even practice your answers to common interview questions.
That's wild. And you get AI-powered feedback on how you're doing. It's like having a career coach in your pocket.
Wow, I need to check that out for myself. That's amazing. But going back to those milk heat treatment process operators, what would you say is the biggest takeaway for our listeners about this line of work? I mean, it's not something most people think about every day.
Yeah, it really makes you realize there's a whole team behind something as simple as pouring a glass of milk.
Right. And it's not just the technical stuff either. Like we said, you need that sharp mind, got to be able to solve problems on the fly, communicate well, and be crazy meticulous with those records.
It's a lot more than meets the eye, that's for sure. So before we wrap up here, I gotta ask, what surprised you the most diving into all this?
You know, I was really struck by just how many different kinds of jobs there are in this world. Like, we've been talking about milk heat treatment process operators, but the guide also mentioned dairy products manufacturing workers, quality control analysts, even something called flavor technologists.
Flavor technologist. Okay, now that sounds pretty cool. Right. Who knew there were so many career paths related to milk?
It really makes you wonder what other hidden complexities are out there when it comes to the food we eat every day.
Definitely something to think about.
It is. Well, listeners, next time you're enjoying that bowl of cereal or that latte, maybe take a second to appreciate those milk heat treatment process operators, working hard behind the scenes, making sure that dairy deliciousness is safe to drink. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll catch you on our next deep dive.